So oil prices, gas prices, all rose today for the 11th straight day as the war in Iran wreaks havoc on the supply of global oil. Hours after President Trump warned Iran of military consequences at a level never seen before, Iran shrugged it off and attacked 3 more ships at the Strait of Hormuz. And it's threatened the world it will drive up the cost of oil to $200 per barrel, more than double the price it currently is. Earlier, I spoke with Interior Secretary Doug Burgum, who pushed back on claims that the administration was caught off guard by the strength of the Iranian response. Mr. Secretary, President Trump said this afternoon that prices are coming down, oil will be coming down. When and what makes him think that?
Well, President Trump confirmed today an announcement that the 32 countries that are part of the international energy agreement will be releasing 400 million barrels from these 32 countries' strategic petroleum reserves. That's going to add some supply to the market. That's going to be helpful to keep refineries going, keep product flowing to consumers, and that's going to be helpful during this period of temporary interruption in markets because of the interruptions of the free flow of navigation through the Strait of Hormuz in the Middle East.
So how soon might Americans see that reflected not only in their gas bills, but we're talking truckers, we're talking farmers, a lot of people really affected?
Yeah, they are. And of course, the good news is that President Trump and this administration has been focused on a policy of energy dominance, which means energy abundance, which means increasing the supply. Under the Trump administration, record amounts of new drilling activity going on, and that's paying off right now. Just talking to energy companies today that are also going to be upping their domestic supply of oil production here in places like the Permian, the Bakken, the Marcellus, where we've got these tremendous resources.
Okay.
All of that, when the price signal goes up, American companies go to work and they start adding more supply. As that comes onto the market, that's going to help make sure that we hear. And right now, we're enjoying some of the lowest energy prices in the world. People across the world, in cases like with U.S. now, #1 oil producer in the world, #1 LNG exporter in the world, #1 natural gas producer. You can buy LNG in America for $3, and for other places around the world right now, it's $20. So Americans, because of President Trump's energy dominance agenda, we've got some of the lowest prices, and they're going to become even lower as things settle down in the Middle East.
Are you referring to right now? Right now, we might have lower than other countries, but we're talking gas prices on average north of $3.50 a gallon. That is not as low as, I mean, it's gone up substantially just in the last 10 weeks, 10 days to 2 weeks.
Yeah, there's been a slight increase over the last few weeks, and of course, this is still it's like a $1.50 lower than it was under the Biden administration for much of that time. And of course, people's prices will vary across the nation because if you're in a state that's got a set of pro-energy policies and lower taxes, you're going to be paying less than you are in other states.
The New York Times is reporting today that the administration, quote, miscalculated in Iran's response to the war. You call this fake news, but Secretary Pete Hegseth did say yesterday, I can't say that we anticipated necessarily that that's how they would react, they meaning Iran. What do you think Secretary Hegseth meant by that? What didn't the administration anticipate?
The actions that have been taken by this administration have been exclusively to increase American national security and lower prices for Americans. That's the exact opposite of the last administration, which was doing things to shut down American energy, make us more dependent on our adversaries, and in the process, raise prices to record highs. So President Trump's policies absolutely work. And going into this, there was a full inclusion of an understanding of the fact that this has always been a choke point in the world. We knew that there was going to be a temporary interruption potentially, but I think what you're seeing, where you're seeing the prices are today, reflects that the market is full of confidence that the U.S. and its allies in the region, who are lined up to support America like never before, are going to see their way through this to a positive end of prosperity for the world and peace in the Middle East.
But did you anticipate that Iran would attack the Strait of Hormuz, would attack the world supply of oil, would attack tankers, would target banks and big tech companies and offices throughout the Middle East?
Well, I think there was a surprise at how quickly they went to attacking other Arab nations. I mean, I think that was something that you might have game boarded that they were going to do, down the road. But for them to do that essentially in the day one was just a gift in terms of solidifying an understanding that this is a terrorist regime that doesn't represent the people of Iran. I mean, this is a group, they killed 30 or 40,000 of their own people in the streets last month. Where's the outrage about that?
Well, there's been a lot of outrage about it. We've reported on it. There's been a lot of outrage about it. They slaughtered them, shoot to kill orders. But President Trump said that oil tanker crews should, quote, show some guts and continue sailing through the Strait of Hormuz despite these threats from Iran. As we said today, 3 tankers were struck. Iran is vowing today not to let 1 liter of oil go through.
Every nation in the world should be standing up to Iran right now and saying, are we going to let someone who slaughters their own people determine whether or not the rest of the world has access to energy from other countries like our allies? I mean, Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, UAE, all of these organizations and these countries in the Middle East where we've got U.S. bases, where they're U.S. allies and where we're partners with them. Everybody should be lined up against Iran from around the world. But yes, I mean, to say that we didn't expect them to do what they've threatened to do for all of these decades. Of course, we expected that they might take these kinds of actions. The fact that they're doing it this soon, I think, reflects some of the desperation that they may have, because they, after we've wiped out their Air Force, their Navy hit 5,000 targets, taken out leadership twice. Of course, people are going to get desperate, and this is, again, the last flailings of a failing regime.
Our military has done an extraordinary job given the task it was assigned. But as you know, a cornered animal is a dangerous animal. Iran is cornered and fighting for its life, the regime, the mullahs. Are you concerned, given the fact that they have targeted the Strait of Hormuz, targeted the world's energy supply much quicker than we anticipated, what they might have in store as they fight for their lives?
I'm quite confident. Again, you've mentioned, Elizabeth, how excellent our military has been. The ability to have overflight and taken out all of their air defense, ability to basically pick targets with precision. I've got a lot of confidence in our military to continue to be able to execute to achieve the objectives that were sent out at the beginning of this conflict.
You mentioned just a moment ago that President Trump's agenda has always been to make America more secure and to make America more affordable. Do you think today, as you and I speak, America is more secure? Because right now it is not more affordable for many, many Americans.
Well, I think, again, this is a temporary thing that's going to happen when you've got these kinds of interruptions. But I think that the fact that we're where we are today is a reflection. Again, the markets are reflecting confidence that America, President Trump, and our allies are going to be able to lead our way through this thing.
And finally, very quickly, the president has floated the idea of having the United States Navy escort these 1,000 tankers that are now waiting, unable to move through the strait. That number, of course, will continue to grow. Is that a good idea? When could it start? And are you worried about these sea drones that the Iranian Navy is apparently now using to attack tankers?
Well, I'd say, again, providing military security and security for free passage is something that is both us and our allies are obviously to restore confidence in that moving through is something that's going to have to happen. President Trump was on that last week when it was discussed, along with the insurance. And as the military has the ability to do that right now, again, they're ahead of schedule in terms of what the mission actions were. I would expect to see that we're going to continue to see progress on this front in the weeks ahead because, again, military is doing such a great job.
All right. Secretary Doug Burgum, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.